And welcome to the first ever episode 21 of Nintendo Stuff with your host, your interim host, Logan Welliver, and our other good friend right above me, Paul Anderson. Welcome, Paul. And
thank you.
Welcome, chat. I do have to apologize. The chat will not be showing up in the video version of this podcast. Today we were having a little bit of trouble, so it had to be omitted. Though, rest assured, we still see your comments, and we are very excited for this week. Thankfully, quite a bit happened. I think also the fact that we didn't have one last week gives us 2 weeks of information to talk about.
I mean,
which is pretty
first
cool.
off, though, we need to take a minute to mention the elephant in the room. Because we all know what happens a week from today.
Oh, yeah. So
Happy
can we...
1 week till Smash, boys.
Yeah. one
Happy 1
week
till
until Smash Bros. And we will still be talking about Smash Bros. Next week. And the week after that. And the week after that. And the week after that. So I don't know. I think we should just jump into what the Smash blog. The Smash blog. I wonder if when we'll stop doing the Smash blog. Once the Smash blog stops posting, we'll stop doing the Smash blog. So I guess the question is when will that be? But for now, we still have the Smash blogs, and we have 2 weeks of posts to go over. Paul, why don't you introduce this first one?
So starting off from November 18th, today's fighter was Robin, a fighter that wields the 11 sword and 4 different tomes. Like in the original game, these weapons can only be used a certain number of times, so keep a close eye on the battle situation. Both the male and female versions of Robin are available, so you can choose your favorite.
More Fire Emblem characters were always welcome, and I always liked the addition of Robin. Obviously, in the actual game, which Robin came from, Awakening was pretty significant. It kind of saved the series Fire Emblem as we know it. Not as we know it, it saved it. They were thinking about canceling it. So I feel like the addition of Robin is pretty monumental.
I haven't been able to figure out how to use Robin properly, but have you ever seen someone who's just really good with Robin play?
I have to admit, I have not.
It is spectacular the things they're able to pull off.
Yeah, there's a lot of variety in Robin's move set. And I've always, playing the little Smash 4 that I did, I always enjoyed playing as Robin. But I think it should be said that I enjoy playing with most characters.
It's hard not to sometimes.
Yeah. So, great character. Glad everyone is here. And that everything is here. Not everything. But something from another Street Fighter item we got going on here is the
guys.
The Guile Assist Trophy. Appearing from the Street Fighter series, he crouches down and waits patiently, and then delivers a flash kick to anyone who approaches. Don't get too close.
I love how much emphasis is put on him crouching. That's the most Street Fighter thing I could think of.
Yeah. It's nice to have representation. It'll be interesting to see I don't know. I've never been I like the assist trophies just because it's a spectacle every time. But it's not I think too hard about most assist trophies. I do like the more spectacular, silly ones. One of my favorite being the Nintendog and just getting in front of the screen, It's all about the presentation and sometimes it's more useful, less useful. But it's nice to have a good variety. And so we'll see how I feel about Guile, especially on this Skyward Sword stage that they're showing this first picture on. which we'll talk a little bit more about Skyward Sword a little later in the show.
Bring it full circle.
Yeah. So we have another song to address King Bowser, originally from Super Mario Bros. 3. And this arrangement was done by none other than the original composer, the legend, Koji Kondo. And guess what? It's good. It's a good arrangement. It's a great arrangement. I like video game music. I like King Bowser. Super Mario Bros. 3 is still something that I have yet to beat. But
it's okay. I only just recently beat it for the first time, and I've been playing it, 20-something years.
Did you abuse the save states?
Oh, I totally abused the save states. It's the only way it was possible for me. I do not have skill.
Yeah, I have Super Mario Bros. 3 on my 3DS, and that's where I was playing it. But now that it's on the Nintendo Switch Online NES collection, that's probably where I will play it and finish it. And maybe even I was playing the original Metroid the other day. Mm-hmm. And man, that game's brutal. A lot of older, the NES era was just a really brutal era for video games, and there's a lot of reasons.
That's how they got you to keep playing it and going back through it versus just being able to run through it in 2 hours and then calling it a day.
Yeah, they had to use some tricks to get people to play longer, and so they just had to be inherently more difficult.
Work for it.
I think part of that difficulty was also in part due to people not really knowing how to make games. We were at the infancy of game design outside of just straight arcade games. It's even why the original Super Mario Bros. Had a score counter. It's not it really played any practical purpose because there was a beginning and the end. That was the reward per se. But they were, again, they were still trying to figure it out. But I digress. We got another fighter. Paul, do you want to introduce this one?
So on November 20th, today's fighter, Zelda. Big surprise. You might recognize Zelda's look from The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. In battle, she uses magical moves to reflect and teleport, and her final smash, she seals her opponent's away in the Triforce of Wisdom. Brutal. If an opponent has 100% damage or more, they will instantly be KO'd.
Oof.
Gotta watch out for that one.
Yeah. I will say this, ever since they revealed her design for this game, I was just ecstatic, right? Because obviously they brought back young Link as well, and they brought back Ganondorf, and then each of those characters kind of represents, a different game. Obviously Toon Link, Wind Waker, and the two other cell shaded games on the DS. We got, Legend of Zelda from A Link Between Worlds. We got Link, who represents Breath of the Wild. And then we have Young Link, who represents Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. So kind of having that variety is again, just kind of applauding Sakurai on his attention to detail, on his ability to just kind of see how can we make this just a little bit better, right? In every way, there's just so much care that's taken with this game. It's why we talk about it every week. It's why it's such a spectacle on the internet. It's why the most viewed video on our channel is, a Smash video, right? Because there's nobody. I don't think there's anybody who actually hates this series, right?
I think the worst I've ever heard is I haven't played Smash in a long time.
Right, but even
no one, whenever you bring up Smash Brothers, no one's ever oh man, I hate Smash Bros.
No, if anything, it's like Melee purists, getting angry that they didn't include this one specific thing that they never even intended to be in Melee. And then, oh, how dare you fix that? And why can't every game be Melee? But that's about the extent of the strife that's associated with the series.
Getting
But
back to Zelda's design, though, like I haven't played A Link Between Worlds, but from what I've seen so far, I think this might be my second favorite Zelda design, next to Skyward Sword Zelda.
Skyward Sword Zelda.
I can't keep
Ooh.
taking it back to that game because I love that game.
Dude,
But
I love it too. We'll save it. We'll save
yeah,
it. But
yeah,
um,
her design in that game is phenomenal.
yeah. I would encourage you, highly encourage you, to play A Link Between Worlds. That is a worthy experience. I
I
remember.
did finally pick it up, and so it is on the roster to play.
Okay,
I
good.
just don't know when I'm going to get around to it, but
Yeah.
I'm definitely playing it.
I remember like the night it came out, I was, me and Brandon were rooming together.
I
And-
remember all the stories about this. I also just remember coming in and watching guys play it. But
Yeah. I think I beat that game within the first week. That was such good times. Next up, we have another stage. Have we?
let's just skip this one. This one isn't important.
We're gonna talk
one
about
doesn't
it
matter.
anyway. It may be a little bit controversial. We got
It's a bad stage.
subjectively depends on how you look at it. And the stage we're talking about is Pac-Land.
Trash
The
land.
infamous side-scrolling, auto-scrolling stage. Says this is an auto-scrolling stage where the scene continuously changes. There are also a few hidden features from the original arcade version of Pac-Land. So try to find them. Why is this a bad stage, Paul? Fill me in.
I think if you look at the second photo, it's pretty close to there's just one spot that every time I play on the stage, I die because it looks like there's like a green rectangle that you would think would be the bottom. It'd be like the platform, and it's not the platform. So I always just like fall straight through. But like this, it's just such a chaotic stage, and I've never had like a positive experience on it.
Yeah.
I've always like been more frustrated playing on the stage because I always die because of the stage, not because of my like who I'm playing.
Right.
And so it's one of like two stages that I know we've turned off like random, so it cannot show up when we play on like
Right.
random stages. There's also one of the few stages that if someone chooses it either on purpose or on accident, like we just stop the game and pick a different stage.
It's understandable. I believe though, and obviously this doesn't necessarily like fit into the same category like the Omega version of this stage. Obviously the Omega version of any stage is, functionally the same. Well, except for some have, you can go under them. But I digress. That's the stage I remember playing is the Omega version of the stage quite a bit.
I wish I could have been that lucky.
Though I do understand your grievances with the stage, and I can't necessarily refute them, nor do I feel inclined to refute them. I don't feel that strongly either way about it. Next up, we have another item. We have the Chef Kawasaki Assist Trophy. He grabs opponents using his long ladle and mixes them into a pot. The unlucky opponent will continue to take damage as the chef cooks up health recovery items. And then you can use his food to recover your health. Just don't think about the recipe. I think that's so funny.
I want to say, and Brandon can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this was actually Kirby's original Final Smash. And so I'm glad they found a way to still incorporate that in, but in a different way.
Right.
This is definitely a better alternative.
Yeah. What's Kirby's Final Smash now? Can you answer that? Can we answer
I
that?
want to say Giant Sword, but I can't say for sure. So if anyone knows in the chat, please let us know.
Well, regardless, I'm glad they were still able to incorporate this, because I mean it's a spectacle. I feel like it fits a little bit better this way. Like I like the idea of like, oh, now we're gonna drop like almost like it's he steals all the health and redistributes it, and anybody who grabs it grabs it. Which
Big
is
Sword from Return to Dreamland. That's what I thought it was.
okay. Cool.
But yeah, this is also just functional because it does damage, but it also recovery items. So
Yep. So next up we have Diddy Kong.
Yay!
Donkey Kong's trusty partner Diddy Kong uses his lightweight and agility to get around quickly for his final smash. Diddy takes to the air with his rocket barrel while firing his pop guns. The final hit is seriously powerful.
He has a move that is just throwing a banana and tripping your opponent. 11 out of 10. Best character in the game, hands down.
Yeah. Though I do wish random tripping would just come back. That was my favorite thing about Brawl.
Yeah, that was definitely like the best feature ever included.
Yeah, man. I don't know why
who
they
wants wave dashing back? Random tripping is where it's at.
That was like the superior form of balancing that the game needed. Smash. And it's just gone downhill since. No, in all seriousness, I'm glad tripping is relegated to specific encounters with bananas.
Because at least that's avoidable.
Right, like you know what you're getting into. So maybe there should be some other tripping items just thrown in there. Just like reskinned bananas essentially, right? Maybe there's like a tub of butter that somebody could like step in, or a slip and slide. That would be really
I'd actually love a tub of butter.
Why don't you introduce us to this next pose, Paul?
Okay, so on the 26th, the day's fighter was my boy Lucas. Like Ness, Lucas is a young boy who uses PSI power. Some of their side moves share the same names, but since Lucas has different abilities, the moves may work differently. Be sure to try them out. For his final smash, he calls down a shower of meteors along with Kumatora and Booney.
He's pretty unchanged from his previous incarnations, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I want to say the one improvement they made to Ness and Lucas is now when you're using the up B, you get a little indicator of where you're going to get, like what direction you're going to fly in.
Okay.
So that's incredibly useful to people like me who just kill myself more often than not using the recovery.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's one of the common themes is like they just found better ways to do the same things. Maybe give you a little bit more information, but not necessarily change the character all that much. And having that information will, I think, there are some people who are able to adapt to it without that information, but this definitely, having that information levels the playing field a little bit more.
Oh, yeah. This definitely makes them more approachable, because I know that there's a lot of people that just can't quite bridge that gap initially with that recovery. And so that immediately kind of kills the character for them. So, I mean, making that very essential maneuver a little bit more accessible goes a long way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, some people kind of like elitists scoff at accessibility, but I'm very much a fan, because when you can have more people who are involved, it's not like they dumbed the game down necessarily. They just, the more accessible it became, the more balanced it became, and strategies had to change, certainly. But, more people can be included, and then also find the other people who like to play the games like they do, specifically with some of the online options. Pretty good. Pretty excited. Can't wait for next week. I'm not...
I mean, with accessibility, like, if you want more people in the community, if you want more people to actually like put up a challenge against you, they need to get through that initial barrier. And so having that accessibility creates some of these more hardcore players down the line. So it's only a good thing.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. We got a couple of posts on the 27th. Well, three different posts on the 27th. And the first two, this was an interesting post right here. So the first of the two songs they posted says, you can now listen to the Nintendo Switch presentation 2017 trailer BGM from the Legend of Zelda series. Enjoy this track, which you can't listen to in the main game. Arranged by Ro Nagamatsu. So, why would they put something in the blog that's not actually in the main game?
I mean, you're asking the right question. At the same time, like, have you listened through this song?
A little bit. I didn't get too much of a
like
listen.
The energy from it.
Right. It's strange that they would put it in there, but I guess this is like the bonus kind of content. Like they arranged it and they were like, "Oh, we're not actually going to put it in the game, but we might as well show it off
again someday."
Yeah. That's so funny. Anyway, the next post highlights the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate theme song, which has a title called Lifelight. Says the Japanese vocals are done by Arina Koga, while the English vocals are sung by Abby Trott. It should be noted, Arina Koga, I believe, was 17, as she is now 18, when she recorded the lyrics for that song.
She can go far in life.
Yeah, considering in my personal musically, vocally educated opinion, I spent a lot of years studying voice, right?
Your highly trained audio ears.
Yes. I think Arina's performance is so much better than Abby's. I think the Japanese performance is so much more on point. That also may have to do with how the words were written and the choices they were made, and the vocal direction that, maybe the sound director gave, or there may have been any number of factors going into this. But I can't get over, and I should say they're both good performances. They're both sound like very talented vocalists. But Arina Koga's performance just, it stands out. Like the Japanese vocals for the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate theme are just like second to none, and I love it. I love it. I love it. And that's why I'm hoping that I can just change the main theme like solo. Like I still want everything else to be in English, like in Smash Bros. But when I start up that opening, cinematic, and I hear... Now, here's the question. Will those vocals be in that opening cinematic, or will it just be the instrumental version? I'm inclined to believe that the vocals will be there. And so I
would like to think.
Yeah.
At the very least, I would be willing to bet that somewhere at like a climactic scene in the story mode, that it'll be there.
Right. So if that's the case, I want to be able to change the dub of just that. Just that. If not, I'll probably play through World of Light in Japanese. Because we
I
all
know what you about.
Yeah.
I respect that.
The last post on the 27th was Suzaku Castle. This stage has a large platform on the right and two smaller ones on the left. Depending on your fighting style, you might prefer one side over the other. This stage comes with music tracks for 16 characters. When
that
the clock
is one more than 15.
That is very true. When the clock starts running out, or if your stock goes down 1, the music may get more intense. Okay, I want to know what they mean by that. This stage comes with music tracks for 16 characters. I'm guessing 16 different Street Fighter characters, because this is a Street Fighter
That would be
stage,
my
yeah?
guess.
So maybe representative of different characters within the series. Because that seems how, you know, everything's grouped. Because I was like, wait, they didn't just choose like random like 16 characters out of the Smash Bros roster, and they're like, oh, we're gonna throw those tracks in with this one. No, it's probably...
Yeah, we definitely need Yoshi's theme for the stage.
Yeah. No, I think that's the case. I guess I just needed to talk it out. That's usually how my brain works.
Mm-hmm. I mean, real question though, what, based on your fighting style, do you prefer the right or the left?
Undetermined. Undetermined. I guess I'll just have
I'm
to...
all about the left side of that stage and the chaos that ensues over there.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way, because I don't know how to feel either way. Guess we'll find out.
Next Friday!
Next Friday, which I will be in Rockford for. And
I will too!
You live in Rockford! So, I will be in Rockford for that, and we will have a jolly good time playing Smash Bros. And celebrating the holidays with friends, with gift giving and love, as we always do. I think like we got 2 more posts here. Paul, why don't you take ownership of these 2 posts?
All right, so on the 28th, today's item, Flies and Hand Assist Trophy. This is amazing, by the way. Flies buzz around the stage, and a hand holding a fly swatter goes around swatting up a storm. Getting caught in that swat storm will cause severe damage, so think like a fly and run away.
What
Just
is this?
wow, though.
What is this from? Is this from anything?
Sure there's like... I'm sure there's something in Nintendo's backlog that this is from. I don't know off the top of my head what it is, but this is amazing. This is like, I think, one of my favorite assist trophies that I've seen so far.
Well, maybe it's just an original for Smash Bros. Because like everything else, every post on here has like kind of like the icon of the series, like in the bottom right corner of the post. And then if you note that the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate theme song post does not have anything in it. So I think this might be like, how funny would it be if there was just flies and a fly swatter, and then we make that an assist trophy, and the Sakurai was like, yeah.
So according to the chat, it's from Game & Watch.
Is it?
Yep.
I'm not convinced. Unless you guys can give me some like actual evidence, go ahead and post it in the chat.
You need 3 scholarly sources for us to believe you.
3 scholarly sources. You have to corroborate your sources. It can't just be like one random blog. You have to get a blog and then like like Fly Swatter and Flies Nintendo scholarly source on YouTube. On Google. Don't go to YouTube for your sources. If they cite other things, find the sources that they cite. Oh well.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the more inventive assist trophies so far.
I like it. It's silly. It's just the kind of silly that I want out of this game.
And then
I also like how it's in this picture. I think it's in the second picture. It's swatting Ridley.
Oh, that wasn't a fly?
Well, you see the flies, but like Ridley's getting swatted, but not swatted on
they
Twitch.
Didn't answer, and we'll probably have to wait for the game to find out. But when it's swatting up a storm, does it actually hit the fly that was next to the character?
Yeah, I wonder, is it successful, or is this like a fruitless effort?
I'm hoping it's not fruitless. I'm hoping that they get the fly, too.
At the very least. It's like, if they're going to give me like 20, 30 some percentage of damage points, like I hope
they better
they
have
would
at least gotten the fly.
Exactly.
So rounding this out, though, on the 29th of November, today's fighter, Yoshi. Yoshi is all about egg-related moves, like throwing eggs, swallowing opponents, and turning them into eggs, or turning into an egg and charging towards an opponent. None of that is making an omelet. With a high jump, recovery is a piece of cake for Yoshi. And for his final smash, a Yoshi army stampedes through the stage. I actually really enjoy his final smash this time around. Like, you know stuff is going down when an army of Yoshis are just running at you.
Yeah, I mean, it would certainly be horrifying if a horde of dinosaurs came charging at you.
I mean, as adorable as like they are by themselves, when they get together, they're cooking. They're making omelets.
They know
how to cook eggs.
Well, okay, I'll reference this. So I watched a movie, a classic Hitchcock film, for the first time the other night, and like a singular bird isn't that horrifying, but when you get a lot of birds, gets pretty spooky. Feel like the same is here with Yoshi, unless a singular Yoshi's just in the hands of a really competent Smash player, then it's just scary inherently, but not necessarily just because of Yoshi.
Yeah.
Well, that rounds out the last 2 weeks of Smash Blog Post. We went a half hour on that.
I mean, 2 weeks worth, man. It was bound to happen.
Yeah. So we got a few other Smash related pieces of news. Just noting that Nintendo of America has revealed, this is coming from My Nintendo News, by the way, has revealed that Smash Bros. Ultimate has become the most pre-ordered Smash and Switch title ever. Which is great news. It's not necessarily indicative of lifetime sales. Those can come and go, but I wouldn't be surprised if Smash Bros. Is one of the best-selling Switch titles.
Smash Bros. Is forever.
Forever. I would love to see the actual numbers and how those compare to other numbers. Because I'm a numbers guy. I love seeing metrics and statistics and such. So I'm eternally curious as to what those numbers are and what the first weekend sales will be like. Whether this will, I can't imagine that it'll surpass the first weekend sales of Pokemon Let's Go. But definitely over 1 million in the first 3 days. I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean,
maybe
from
even
this,
that's on the high
title,
side.
I would have guessed, most pre-ordered Smash, and Switch title ever. That does kind of surprise me a bit.
Yeah. Well, what else would have, and something we have to consider is the install base, right?
Yeah, it's definitely
the install
larger
base
now than
is
when
much.
Some of the earlier major games were dropping, Odyssey and Zelda. Those would have been much earlier in the life cycle, but I mean, still, I feel like at least Mario Odyssey would have had, a broader appeal to Switch owners. I thought that would have had higher pre-order numbers still.
Right. I mean, the question of. And I think it could go either way in terms of what game is going to sell more down the line. But I have a hard time thinking that anything is going to beat Super Mario Odyssey and Mario Kart 8 and Pokemon.
Oh, yeah.
But if anything could, it's definitely Smash Bros. Unless Nintendo pulls out all the stops and releases a game that just trounces all the other games. Which could very well happen.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
And the last piece of Smash-related news that I want to touch on that was significant is Kirby. And his survival from the Oogity Boogity baddie in the sky in the World of Light trailer. Why Kirby? So many people were like, it's because he's Sakurai's baby, and Sakurai plays favorites, which I will say may very well be true, but I'm inclined to believe Sakurai's justification. Whether you think Sakurai's a credible source or is being honest is another question altogether.
Can I pose the question though? Why not Kirby? He can absorb powers from someone else, so he has the most potential for power of anyone. So
right.
Why not Kirby? Anyway, carry on with the explanation.
Yeah, so here is Sakurai's justification for his decision to have Kirby, which he calls Kirby the obvious choice. This translation of Sakurai's column is coming from the wonderful people over at Source Gaming. Definitely check them out. And I'll just read a little bit about this. All the fighters perish at once in World of Light, but there wouldn't be much of a story if one of them didn't survive. So why did I choose Kirby? And this is clever. He refutes the primary claim. He goes, "It must be because you created the Kirby series." I thought you might say that. But from a game design perspective, and based on a process of elimination, Kirby was the obvious choice. We needed a solid, convincing reason for why said character could outrun Galeem. Oh, I forgot. It's not Oogity Boogity Baddie. It's Galeem. All fighters possessing normal abilities were immediately disqualified, given that its assault enveloped the ends of the galaxy. Only a vehicle that could defy the laws of physics would work. Even short-distance teleportation wouldn't work. Some of you may have forgotten, but Kirby's Warp Star has been able to, warp since his very first game. He also notes that two of the other people that possibly could have survived were Bayonetta and Palutena. But Bayonetta's enemies, Bayonetta's enemies from Purgatorio were turned into spirits, so it wouldn't have made sense for her to escape. Other divine beings like Hades were also turned into spirits, so there's no way Palutena could have survived. And then also he says Kirby is simple and he's easy to use. So there are quite a few justifications that he has for why he chose Kirby.
He made a lot of valid points in that.
He kind of crushed it. Now, I think there's still room for doubters. But there will always be room for doubters because, it's not like this is something that can be proven based on empirical evidence. And that'll just have to be good enough. I think this is a good justification for it, though. And I don't know if it makes me more excited for World of Light because I'm already unreasonably excited for this game just in general. So...
I just want to circle back to Kirby again and how he's been saving the universe, not the world, the universe for like 20 years. He's qualified, guys. He's qualified.
Even though he's still a child, isn't he like a baby? Isn't Kirby like super young? Thought that was the deal.
Anyone out there know?
Anyway, so we're going to skip around here. We're going to talk about some more general Nintendo stuff, and we're going to save some of the thicker conversation for the end. The Super Mario Party, this is coming from My Nintendo News, which that's a big source for a lot of our stuff. Super Mario Party is now the third fastest selling Mario game in history, trailing only behind Mario Party and Mario Party 8. I think that's pretty good. Considering Mario Party 8 was the first Mario Party released on the Wii, and we know how much of a success the Wii was. And then the first Mario Party is the first Mario Party. People were like, "Wow, this is new and novel, and we should all buy this."
And her hands.
Yeah. So it's fastest selling. The games have never sold like amazingly, so I'd be interested to see in like how well Super Mario Party does in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Like it looks like Mario Party DS did almost like 9 million, maybe even more. I'm just looking at the VG charts, which tend to be under tracked. Then Mario Party 8, Mario Party 9, because they're both on the Wii, and then Mario Party. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Super Mario Party ends up in the grand scheme of things. From what I've played, it's definitely one of the better ones, and I haven't picked it up quite yet, but I'd like to in the near future. I would probably pick it up sooner if I had ravenous Nintendo Switch friends in my near vicinity that I could play with. Or if it had online and I could just play with you guys over the internet that
Maybe
wasn't just like a mini game mode. One day, maybe they'll do it retrospectively. Oh, we should have added this. And like, yeah, you should have. Thanks.
Run with it, man.
Thanks, guys. But seems like it's a well-deserved milestone. Black Friday sales for Nintendo were good as always. I mean, I feel like Black Friday is always good for any company.
Oh yeah.
This is coming from a Nintendo World Report. Nintendo of America reported that according to their internal measurements, more than $250 million were spent on Nintendo products between November 22nd and 26th. The Switch sold more units in the period than any other system ever, including the supply-constrained Wii numbers of 2008, with some estimates placing sales at more than 800,000 systems, as sales increased 115% compared to the same period last year. Citing analytics from Adobe, the premier tracker of Thanksgiving sales, the Switch was one of the top-selling items on Black Friday and the most purchased video game item purchased on Cyber Monday. As of the 26th, more than 8.2 million Switch consoles have been sold in the U.S.
Not bad.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. That's a lot. And so it says here, it makes the claim like sold more units in that period than any other system ever. Like, is that including like PS4, Xbox One, all this other stuff, or is this just more than Nintendo's stuff? It says any other, so I don't feel probably saying like everything, right? Definitely this is in part due to the release of Let's Go and the anticipation of Smash Bros. And so it really just fell in like a hot time for like these two massive games.
Oh, definitely.
And then, you know, the Switch is definitely one of those kind of like blue ocean products where it kind of just appeals to everybody. Like I see, I work in retail currently, and people are always coming in and like, oh, do you guys have a Nintendo Switch? You get like, you know, these older people coming in, you get middle-aged people buying like one or two for their children, and it's pretty incredible. And so this is very like unsurprising news.
Definitely. Actually, I had an old coworker contact me to see if I could find a good deal for a Switch for him for Black Friday.
Except there were none.
I mean, basically, but I mean that Mario Kart bundle wasn't terrible.
Right.
I mean, you buy the Switch, you're going to spend the same amount anyway, but you also get Mario Kart with it.
Right.
Might as well, but
yeah, but there wasn't like anything like, I know like Microsoft had their like up to $100 off, like an Xbox console, depending on which one you were purchasing. So there were some big steep things, whereas Nintendo was more like, oh, you get like a gift card here or there. So it's like, it's a better deal, but it's a better deal, and it's good because like it doesn't happen often, and Nintendo's probably not going to be dropping that price anytime soon.
Well, I mean, it preserves the value of the Switch. I mean, it's a $300 console.
Yeah.
And it really holds that value. Like I can't even imagine it being like 250 yet.
Yeah. If it drops to 250, it'll be because there's like another version of the console coming that makes some improvements, and it's also going to be priced at, 300. A few more things. I'm trying to figure out like how we're almost there. We're almost there. Just a little piece of news. I thought this one was really interesting. I found this one from nintendosoup.com, and they reported on one of Elon Musk's tweets. And so apparently Tesla approached Nintendo for an in-car Mario Kart collaboration. Nintendo turned it down, but I just love that like it happened at all. Like they were like, oh, we want to like do that because I don't know, that would be fun. So the actual like thread was says somebody said feature request ability to play Steam games on Tesla, kind of jokingly. Elon goes, that would be cool. And then somebody else goes, how about a version of Mario Kart where you can play against random people who are also charging their car at the moment? And he goes, we tried. Nintendo won't license it to us.
It's such an amazing response to get.
Yeah. And it seems very like Elon Musk to be like, oh yeah, we're going to go ahead and just put it out there. Let's see if it can happen. Well, it didn't, but at least we can say we tried, and then it makes for a good story later on, right?
Mm-hmm.
The last thing before the last two pieces of discussion that we are really going to get into. The Frosty Fest Splatfest is happening worldwide and starts January 4th. So this is a worldwide Splatfest. Usually they have them by region. It'll be interesting because I think what day of the week is the 4th? That's in the middle of the week, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a Friday.
Oh, January 4th. I was thinking... Oh, it is a Friday.
Oh, December. Okay. Yeah,
I was thinking December 4th. I like the aesthetic they got going on here. I like that they changed the aesthetic with the what do you call it? The Splatoon Splatfest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I love this even more. Like, oh, it looks so good. It looks so much fun, and I will definitely.
It's definitely like holiday spirit. They definitely nailed it.
Yeah. Oh, this looks so good. I'm very excited.
It also kind of reminds me of like a cookie, if it was a town instead.
Yeah, I can see that. Just like baking some cookies in the oven, and there are Christmas cookies, and everybody's eating them and also playing Splatoon.
Cookie is of a squid that's also a kid.
Good God. All right. So, let's talk about Skyward Sword. Okay? So, the internet kind of got all ruffled up when there was some reports of Aonuma allegedly teasing Skyward Sword for Switch at a Zelda concert in Osaka. Now, whether he was explicitly teasing it for Switch, that it was a thing that was happening, or maybe kind of getting a lay of the land, maybe he wants it to happen, but Nintendo like hasn't kind of given it a go-ahead, or maybe they just misconstrued his comments entirely. That these are all possibilities, at least from what I've seen. I don't think there's any like actual like recordings of it, of what he said, just kind of like secondhand reports. But this got a lot of people talking. A lot of people were talking, and because I think this is something people want. There was also a lot of people who were like, I'm open to this if they take out the motion controls. And I was just like, stop. No. If we're getting it, like, they would do it because all of the tech is in the Switch to make this game happen on the Switch. You know?
Well, I also feel like this time around with the motion controls, they would just work better because the technology has improved since then.
Right. Well, I'm not even sure that, because I don't think the game. I think people were just so used to the waggle, right? The infamous waggle of the Wii remote, that once we got to the Wii Motion Plus, like, people didn't know what to do with themselves. They just want to like kind of swing, and you know, they added actual, like, you know, if you swing this way, like, you have to swing this way. You have to swing up and down. You have to do these specific gestures, these specific inputs to make it happen. And of course they weren't 100%, especially when you're in the heat of the moment and you're not thinking and your hands are just flying everywhere. But I think that speaks to, you know, user error and input. Like, it was probably a little bit more difficult to get a handle on. But that doesn't mean
I feel like that was probably a large factor with it, but there were a lot of problems with it still.
I'd have to play through it again. I feel like I disagree, because I don't remember having that many issues with the game.
See, Brandon didn't either, and then he went and played through it again, and I know he was struggle busting with it the second time through.
I guess I'll have to revisit. I'll have to pull out the Wii U that's sitting in a box in my living room and pull out my Wiimote and see what I can do. But regardless, I would love to see this game on the Switch.
I mean, around like the problems I had were far and few between, but I mean, around that, like, the game is just such a delightful game. I absolutely want to experience it again, you know, in HD, on my Switch, anywhere I want. It's just, I want it so bad. I've been asking for this for years. And so just even the slightest hint of it just insta-hyped me.
I'd definitely be more than happy to purchase this game once again, and I still have my copy for the Wii. But that's not the end of the story, because not long after that, I think it was pretty soon after that. Oh no, it was like it was a few days before that. There was a Game Informer editor, and he stated that that there's probably the next Zelda's probably coming sooner than we think. And I don't know if that means like a brand new Zelda or a port. I also don't know if there is actual like insider information involved in that statement, or whether that was a hunch. But I definitely think that fed into the reports of Aonuma allegedly teasing a Switch port of this game. But Game Informer's, you know, a pretty big publication, and so I wouldn't be surprised if they had insider information that, you know, they really couldn't talk about, you know, for the most part. And then lastly, talking about the same thing, we had, I don't think I put that in here. But a Nintendo spokesperson denied the existence
because of course they did.
Right. And so I think a lot of people are like, oh, I guess that's it. It's done. But like, this is something that is expected, right?
That is always going to be their response. Whether or not it's true, you know, it's still up in the air, but I don't think that inherently disproves that it could exist.
Right. I think with anything, I think this whole debacle kind of made it apparent that if Nintendo just kind of like, it's like, here, there's some smaller studio, if you want to make an HD version of this, we'll direct you a little bit through it, we'll dedicate some resources because I think it'll sell. I think people are getting hungry for more Zelda, and maybe they release it as like like a summer game for this something to fill in the gap, between certain titles before Metroid Prime 4 or something like that. I don't know.
It's a nice way to round out a dry spell.
Yeah. And then that game came out in 2011. So,
Gosh.
Yeah. It's been a while.
It needs it then.
Yeah. So I'd love to see this game in HD and not emulated on the computer.
I mean, it's a beautiful game. Like, it deserves to just be in HD.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think that's my biggest draw is I just want to see like these beautiful visuals. And they certainly could add things. So like if you're playing with the Joy-Cons, like, they didn't really have any camera controls, for so much. It was just the Z button, placing the camera behind you. And that would certainly having, the two thumbsticks would make that a lot easier. It probably would actually improve the gameplay. I don't think the motion controls will go away. I don't think they'll put that much work into actually reworking the entirety of the actual game. Like, that seems insane to me that they would even kind of like really crapping on the legacy that is Skyward Sword. Like, guys, you're allowed to not like it, but like they're not going to remake the entire game just to please like what I believe is a minority,
Yeah.
I don't have any metrics to back that up, no empirical evidence or anything like that, but I feel like it's probably minority. And if you don't want to struggle through it again, like, you don't have to struggle through it again. But that game was released at the end of the Wii's life cycle. So I think there's probably a lot of people who didn't pick it up. And I think re-releasing it would give quite a few people an opportunity to play through it on a system that is much more alive nowadays.
Oh yeah.
So for, I think, actually there's something I forgot to mention, and I'll mention this now. From Nintendo World Report, there is a Fire Emblem Expo to be held in Japan on the 4th of May. There's an expo dedicated to Fire Emblem. Does this mean we're getting Three Houses around that time? Is this before or after Three Houses? Like, does this mean anything? At the very least, are we going to hear more about that game come May 4th? Because I feel like it's coming in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
They already they announced a release date, didn't they?
Right?
They just said spring, right?
Yeah, so that wouldn't be it. It has to be close to that.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was right around that. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like early May for that game. Yeah, that's the reason I mentioned this, is like, this might give us a better indication of exactly where this game is going to fall in the Switch lineup. I think it's pretty likely that we're going to get it late spring. Depends. Could get it sooner. Maybe this is like, oh, we released the game, and then a few weeks later, everybody's like, oh, we got the Fire Emblem, fever going again, and gonna gather everybody in one place with all of our Switches to play Fire Emblem Three Houses, and also do expo stuff. Whatever they do at expos.
They expose Fire Emblem to people.
Yes. Pretty exciting stuff. Now, something, and probably the last thing we'll talk about on the show here, of very much of significance to this channel and to other YouTube channels, Nintendo announced that it will be ending the Nintendo's Creator Program at the end of December 2019. Now, for those of you who don't know what the Nintendo Creators Program, a number of years ago, Nintendo decided that they were going to be a little bit grabby about their content and very protective over their content, as they always have been. And if you wanted to upload Nintendo, like certain types of Nintendo content, you had to get into their Creators Program. And then they would take a cut of like your ad revenue that you would make off of those Nintendo videos. And
not,
if you
not
weren't,
just some of your ad revenue, like it was like 70%.
yeah,
So it was a substantial chunk of the ad revenue.
Yeah, I'm not sure what like really the goal was. I think it probably had some maybe unintended consequences. I think Nintendo wanted like a piece of that pie, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what happened instead is nobody played Nintendo games, or people who didn't monetize because, it wasn't even worth it. And that's probably not great considering like literally people making that kind of Nintendo content. It's essentially free publicity for Nintendo,
They just actively discouraged it with that program. So they're definitely making the right move now by kind of taking a step back, kind of getting rid of that.
Yeah. And so when they announced this the other day, we were all very like, oh, this is significant. And I read through it and it's very reasonable. It's essentially like Nintendo's restatement of fair use, which is what the current laws are anyway, right? So you may monetize your videos and channels using the monetization methods separately specified by Nintendo. Other forms of monetization of our intellectual property for commercial purposes are not permitted, which is fine. We encourage you to create videos that include your creative input and commentary. Videos and images that contain mere copies of the Nintendo game content without creative content is not permitted. And that's just, it literally just sounds like fair use. Like you can't just take this and re-upload it. Like that's not fair use. It's not even creative. And it's something that would never happen on this channel in the first place. You are only permitted to use Nintendo game content that has been officially released or promotional materials officially released, such as product trailers or Nintendo Directs. So all of you really impatient individuals who decided they were going to go ahead and upload footage from illegal copies of Smash Bros. It's not okay. Wasn't okay. I feel like there's definitely an ethics argument in there somewhere. But Nintendo has backed that up and say you can't do that. And I think they're well within their rights to do that. Then they're like, and you want to use the intellectual property of a third party, you're responsible for... I feel like that doesn't even apply to them. It's like, oh, I guess there's sometimes third party stuff is in our games, So I guess that's it.
That's not ours, so we can't say. That's how I interpret it.
Right. You are not permitted to imply or state that your videos are officially affiliated or sponsored by Nintendo. Which, again, that would be really silly if somebody did and it wasn't, And then we were moved to remove any content that is unlawful, infringing, inappropriate, or not in line with these guidelines. This is so reasonable. It's like we've been waiting for this. Everybody who produces Nintendo content has been waiting for this.
It's like Nintendo figured out that their the creator program before didn't work.
Yeah.
And so they came up with something that would work. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I'm not sure all the reasons for this, right? I'm wondering how much Nintendo actually profited from the Nintendo's creator program anyway, as opposed to what they would have made from like sales of games just based on other people's content that they created. There's maybe lost profit motive in that. There's also the case that we just recently got a new CEO. We have the interim CEO, and then we have our current CEO, Furukawa, who is much younger. He's in his 40s. And so maybe that had a lot to do with it. A younger guy who probably has a lot, better understanding of how the internet functions, and how they should deal with that. I imagine that he probably had a hand in this. But they kind of just dropped this. They were just like, here, we're ending the creators program, and here's the new guidelines, and have fun, everybody. Here's your freedom that you should have had in the first place. And for a small but growing channel like ourselves, this is who produces a lot of Nintendo-based content. This is very, very good. I'm very excited. I know Brandon was excited. Rest his soul, he couldn't be with us today. He's not dead. That was a joke. But yeah, so look forward to more great Nintendo content from the Break Room Arcade. Because obviously this is just going to encourage us to make more of the content that we already love to make. Less hoops to jump through, less grievances to deal with. We're finally here. We're moving along. And I think Paul, do you have anything else to say on this?
Specifically on the creators program?
Or anything else that we've talked about? Anything that you feel like needs to be said?
If they re-release Skyward Sword, buy it and play it. Please.
It's worth your time if you haven't already.
It is a delightful game. I promise. That's all I got.
Well, thank you for that, Paul. Insightful as always. Well, that will be it for the Nintendo Stuff podcast this week. If you are not already, our Discord link is in the description below the video. Join us in there for tons of Super Smash Bros. Discussion, particularly, but just anything gaming. We love lots of games. I've been playing through Red Dead 2. I've been playing through Doom 2016. Just a lot of things going on. If you want to talk life, we also talk some life in there. Again, the link is in the Discord. Link is in the Discord. The Discord link is in the description below. Go ahead and feel free to follow me at LoggyDoves on Twitter and Paul at Gunnysaurus on Twitter, or collectively all of us at the Break Room Arcade on Twitter. And if you listen to this podcast, the audio version, if you feel led, please rate us on the podcasting services and let us know how you feel. It helps the show out. It helps us out greatly. I should note that we also just recently got approved for super chats and custom emojis. There's currently only one custom emoji in the YouTube chat, but feel free to use it.
There'll be more.
There will definitely be more. Probably in the next week and for the next few streams and for the next few premieres of Brandon's ongoing Zelda Ocarina of Time randomizer series. If you haven't checked that out, it's on the channel. It's very
to get those emojis, I believe you click the money icon, and then that should have a link to join on YouTube Gaming, correct?
I believe so. Actually, I think, let me see. No, it's, I mean, maybe. Yeah, I think you have to join. Yeah. So yeah, there's like a YouTube Gaming link, and through the YouTube Gaming, you can join us as a member on YouTube now. That's something that we worked pretty hard for. And seeing the fruits of our labor, and it feels really good. And we're thankful, so thankful that all of you show up to listen to us ramble on about Nintendo and other things in life. I think the only other thing I need to plug is I think we got another breakdown podcast coming this Monday, which I think, yeah, that's on the 3rd. So I think Brandon might be here for that one, because he'll have finished the thing that he has taken off time to do, which he can talk about that on Monday.
And I sadly will not be here Monday, but I'll be here in spirit.
Yeah.
Sleep spirit.
Well, we'll miss you, and we love you. And we love all of you out in the chat. So again, this has been...
you can also, if you feel compelled, we have a Patreon. Any support you can give, it goes a long way to help us out. If you can't, we're glad to have you here. So please stay.
For sure. Well, this has been episode 21 of the Nintendo Stuff Podcast. This is Logan, letting you all know, don't break your backs. Break in the games. But for now, break time's over.